Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world obsessed with the fire of youth, the speed, the ambition, the adrenaline of new beginnings. But what this world does not celebrate and often fails to understand is the quiet storm that comes later in life, the reward that waits not for the loud, but for the wise, the strength that is not seen in muscle but in mind. Today I speak not of decline but of ascension, not of endings but of evolution. The greatest reward of old age is not found in looking backward with regret, but in looking forward with power. Let me show you what that reward truly is. In the early years of life, everything comes at you fast. Opportunities, challenges, criticism, praise, ideas, distractions. The world spins with such noise and motion that it's difficult to distinguish what truly matters. In youth, we often mistake motion for progress and chaos for passion. We chase approval, react impulsively, and make decisions in the fog of confusion. But with age comes a great purification. The mind begins to settle, the clutter falls away, and what's left is clarity. This clarity is one of the most powerful, underrated advantages of growing older. It's the ability to see the game behind the game, to hear the unspoken beneath the words, and to act with intention rather than impulse. This mental clarity is not born of detachment from the world, but a deeper understanding of it. Time becomes your greatest teacher. You begin to recognize patterns in people, what they say versus what they truly mean, what they want versus what they pretend to need. You stop being seduced by surface-level distractions and start tuning into deeper signals. The frantic need to win every argument, respond to every attack, and chase every opportunity fades. What replaces it is an elegant calm, a focused attention to what actually moves the needle in your life and work. You also begin to simplify your relationships. The people you once tried to impress, please, or fix lose their power over you. You realize you no longer have the time or energy to participate in shallow conversations, meaningless competition, or performative obligations. Clarity gives you the strength to say no without explanation and yes with full conviction. This is how wisdom sharpens your vision and saves your energy for the battles that truly matter. Consider the story of an older advisor who sits quietly in a board meeting filled with ambitious young executives. Everyone is shouting over one another, trying to assert dominance, proving they're right. Charts are thrown around, voices rise, opinions clash, but the advisor remains silent, watching. He sees the fear behind the aggression, the confusion behind the data, the insecurity behind the confidence. Then, at the perfect moment, he leans forward and shares a single sentence, a calm, direct observation that slices through the fog. The room falls silent. Decisions are made. The path becomes clear. He didn't need to out-talk them. He didn't need to dominate. His clarity spoke louder than all their noise. That is the reward time offers. When others are still tangled in the web of confusion, you become the calm center. People begin to look to you not because you shout the loudest, but because you see the farthest. Clarity is not about knowing everything. It's about knowing what's real. And when you've spent decades navigating the chaos of life, you begin to spot what truly matters within seconds. That vision, that clarity is not a luxury of age, it is its greatest weapon. One of the most powerful transformations that comes with age is the gradual mastery over impulse. In youth, we are ruled by emotion. We lash out when we're angry, speak when we should listen, chase desires without questioning the cost. We seek immediate satisfaction, instant validation, immediate revenge, quick success, without realizing the long-term consequences of our reactions. The younger mind is easily triggered, constantly pulled by ego, fear, and pride. But as you grow older, something changes. Experience becomes your teacher, and you begin to recognize that every impulsive reaction robs you of control. Slowly, you start replacing reaction with response, noise with calculation, and emotional turbulence with composure. This is the true essence of power. When you are no longer a slave to your impulses, you become dangerous in the most refined way. Mastery over impulse does not mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means becoming deliberate. It's the ability to observe your own rising emotions and choose not to act from them. You feel the sting of insult but respond with silence. You feel the surge of ego but let it dissolve before it defines your choices. You are no longer driven by the fear of being misunderstood or the need to prove your worth. You understand that restraint is not weakness. It is a silent flex of self-restraint control that leaves a lasting impression on others. With age, you gain something far more powerful than raw emotion. You gain timing. You start to realize that the right move made too early or too loudly can be worse than no move at all. You learn that by simply waiting, by allowing a situation to unfold a little more, the right strategy reveals itself. You understand that composure under pressure is more effective than any speech, any threat, any loud defense. Imagine a courtroom scene. A younger lawyer, frustrated by a line of questioning, lashes out at the opposing counsel. His voice rises, hands tremble, and he appears rattled. The judge takes notice. The jury raises eyebrows. Across the room, an older, more seasoned lawyer watches silently. He says nothing, does not react. He remains still, composed, knowing that the young man's outburst just cost him credibility. When it's his turn, he calmly dismantles the argument without ever raising his voice. His silence earlier made his words now even more potent. That's the power of impulse mastered. This kind of emotional discipline doesn't happen by accident. It is forged through years of failure, reflection, and conscious evolution. Every time you chose to remain calm instead of erupting, every time you stepped back instead of charging forward, you laid another brick in the foundation of your self-mastery. And over time, people begin to feel your power, not in what you say, but in what you don't say, not in how fast you move, but in how precisely you act. That is the reward of growing older. Not just wisdom, but composure. And with composure comes control over yourself, over situations, and eventually over everything around you. One of the most liberating and powerful qualities age can offer is detachment, not from life, but from the illusions that keep most people bound. In youth, attachment defines much of how we behave. We attach ourselves to outcomes, people, possessions, titles, recognition. We live in fear of losing, constantly trying to hold on to things that are outside our control. We become addicted to results. If we don't win, we feel like failures. If we're not seen, we feel invisible. If we're not praised, we feel unworthy. This form of attachment keeps the mind in chains and the emotions in turmoil. But time, when honored and understood, teaches you that true power lies in letting go. Detachment is not apathy. It is not passivity. It is clarity of mind combined with a deep inner strength. It means you're no longer ruled by the outcome of your actions. You still act with intensity, but you don't need things to go your way to feel complete. You've already accepted that losses will come, betrayals will happen, and plans will sometimes collapse, but instead of breaking, you bend, you don't shatter. You adjust, shift, and continue. This is the quiet power that keeps you calm when others are panicking and grounded when others are chasing illusion. With detachment, your decisions become cleaner, more precise. You are not pulled by emotional entanglements. You're able to walk away from a toxic situation without feeling the need to explain yourself. You can let go of relationships that no longer serve your growth. You stop seeking approval. You act not out of desperation, but out of deliberate choice. And in that state, you become difficult to manipulate because the world loses its grip on people who are no longer chasing what it can take away. Picture an aging entrepreneur who once built an empire from nothing. In his earlier years, he was obsessed with expansion, with being number one, with proving everyone wrong. But now, decades later, a competitor tries to bait him, spreads rumors, undercuts pricing, and attempts to humiliate him publicly. The younger version of himself would have fought back immediately, burning time, energy, and resources to win the battle. But this version simply watches. He knows the game. He knows this storm is temporary. Instead of reacting, he quietly pulls his investments, shifts his strategy, and moves in a different direction. His detachment protects his empire. While others exhaust themselves trying to win, he outlasts them all. This kind of detachment is not cowardice. It is courage wrapped in discipline. It takes years of learning to accept that not every battle is worth fighting, not every insult is worth answering, and not every opportunity is worth pursuing. You come to realize that nothing in life is ever truly yours, not money, not people, not even your reputation, and in accepting that, you become free. Detachment is the reward of wisdom. It is a shield made of experience, and those who carry it are no longer swayed by the winds of the world. They move with intention, they act without fear, and they win without noise. As we grow older, something remarkable begins to take shape within us. A subtle but undeniable power that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to boast, and doesn't need to prove itself. This is the power of presence. In our younger years, influence is often mistaken for noise. voice, talking fast, dominating conversations, showing credentials, demanding attention. We try to make our voices heard by increasing volume instead of increasing value. But as time passes and wisdom deepens, a different kind of influence emerges, one that stems not from how loudly you speak, but from the quiet weight of who you've become. Presence is earned. It is built brick by brick through experience, pain, victories, failures, and silent lessons. It's what happens when you no longer chase attention because your very energy commands it. People begin to sense something in you. They don't know exactly what it is, but they feel it. Your calmness under pressure, your confidence without arrogance, your ability to observe without judgment. These qualities draw people in. Not because you are forcing them to follow, but because they want to know what you know. You radiate something they don't have yet: mastery, patience, depth. This kind of influence is magnetic. You can walk into a room and say nothing for the first 10 minutes, yet everyone senses your importance. It's not the clothes you wear or the title you carry, it's the way you carry yourself. Your eyes are steady, your body language is relaxed. You don't fidget or fill silence with empty words. You're at peace with yourself, and that peace projects power. Imagine a meeting between rival leaders negotiating a tense deal. The younger leader talks non-stop, firing off statistics, aggressively pushing his terms. Across from him sits an older leader, still composed, almost too quiet. He listens. He lets the young man burn out his energy. And when he finally speaks, he asks a single question, one that reframes the entire conversation. His voice is steady, his tone is low, and yet it changes the direction of the meeting. That is the influence of presence. He didn't win by overpowering, he won by being undeniable. The presence you gain with age becomes your signature. People remember how you made them feel more than what you said. And when your presence makes them feel seen, safe, or subtly challenged, they will follow you, not out of fear, but out of respect. This influence isn't built in a day. It comes from walking through fire and coming out wiser, from knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, from understanding that the loudest person in the room is often the weakest. With presence, you stop needing validation. You don't need a spotlight. You become the anchor in the storm, the calm in the chaos. And others will lean toward you, not because you reached out, but because you pulled them in by simply being you. There is a certain wisdom that only time can teach, the ability to wait. In youth, patience feels like a weakness, like inaction. You want everything now, the success, the validation, the victory. The younger mind believes that movement is always progress, that speed always wins, that waiting means falling behind. But with age, a profound truth emerges. Not all movement is forward, and not all stillness is delay. Strategic patience becomes one of the most refined and dangerous tools in your arsenal. It is the understanding that timing can be more powerful than talent, that restraint can be more effective than aggression, and that sometimes the greatest strength is in holding your position. Patience doesn't mean you're doing nothing. It means you're doing everything right. You're observing, you're analyzing, you're preparing, you're letting others show their cards while you keep yours close. You learn that people who rush often reveal their weaknesses. They expose their intentions, they burn out. But you, with patience, move like a shadow, silent, steady, and unseen until the moment strikes. This patience is not passive, it is tactical. It's the art of letting the game come to you. It's knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, when to push and when to pull back, when to act with full force and when to simply wait for your opponent to collapse on their own. Strategic patience is the ability to delay gratification, not because you lack ambition, but because your ambition is deeper than impulse. You are playing the long game. Consider the example of an older investor watching a volatile market. While young traders are frantically buying and selling based on short-term trends, he sits quietly, reading behavior, tracking patterns. He doesn't react to daily noise, yet he waits for the moment the market panics. When fear overrides logic and everyone starts selling, that's when he makes his move. He buys low, holds steady, and watches the tide turn. Months later, when others are recovering from their losses, he is profiting from his patience. He didn't act first, he acted best. This kind of strategic patience is earned. It is the product of many years of acting too soon, speaking too quickly, forcing outcomes that weren't ready. And from those mistakes you learn. You learn that waiting is not weakness. It is preparation. It is power. It is watching others trip over their own urgency while you navigate with precision. With this patience, your energy changes. You no longer fear missing out because you know your moment will come. You stop chasing and start attracting. You become immune to provocation. People try to bait you, but you no longer bite. You smile, observe, and respond only when it benefits you. That is the calm, commanding nature of someone who has learned to wait, not out of hesitation, but out of dominance. Strategic patience isn't just a tool, it's a weapon. And in the hands of someone seasoned by time, it becomes nearly unbeatable. One of the most profound shifts that comes with age is the reordering of values. In youth, the ego sits at the center of everything. It demands recognition, it needs to win, it thrives on comparison, every action becomes a performance for the world to applaud. You build your image with intensity, guard your reputation like a fortress, and measure your success by how much louder you are than the next person. But with time, something inside you changes. The applause doesn't echo as long, the trophies gather dust, and slowly your focus begins to shift from your image to your impact, from your reputation to your legacy. Legacy is not about being remembered, it's about what you leave behind that continues to move without you. It is what remains long after your name has faded from conversation. It is the habits you helped build in others, the principles you lived by, and the structures you contributed to that outlast your presence. When you are younger, your ego wants to be the star. But when you are older and wiser, you realize true greatness is about making others better, lifting, mentoring, guiding, creating, not so you're remembered, but so the world is improved by your existence. This shift from ego to legacy quiets your spirit in the most powerful way. You no longer feel the need to be the center of every room. You let others take the credit. You don't interrupt to prove your intelligence. You don't fear being forgotten because you're already living for something beyond yourself. You begin to think generationally, planting seeds you may never see grow, trusting that time will carry your influence forward in ways your ego could never imagine. Imagine an older architect near the end of his career. In his youth, he designed skyscrapers that made headlines, but now he spends his days mentoring a team of younger architects. He shares his knowledge freely, edits their work without taking credit, and pushes them to outdo his own legacy. One of them asks, "Don't you want your name on the next big project?" He smiles and says, "No, I want you to lead it. That's my project now." In that moment, he has already won. He's no longer chasing personal glory, he's shaping the future. Legacy over ego means you begin to lead without needing to control. You teach without demanding obedience. You give without expecting repayment. You understand that what matters most is not how loud your name is, but how deeply your influence runs. This transition brings peace. The anxiety of needing to prove yourself fades. The fear of being overshadowed disappears. Because you are no longer playing for now, you are building for forever. The reward of old age is realizing that ego is temporary, but legacy is eternal. And those who learn to live beyond themselves begin to write a story that continues long after their part has ended. There is a kind of peace that cannot be bought, faked, or rushed. It comes not from the world outside, but from a profound shift within. A surrender that is not defeat, but transcendence. As we grow older, we begin to shed the illusions we once clung to. We stop trying to force life into a perfect. We no longer need to rewrite the past or predict every future outcome. We stop fighting the things we cannot control, and in that surrender we discover one of the greatest rewards of aging, the peace of acceptance. Acceptance is not passivity, is not resignation, it is clarity. It is recognizing that life in all its unpredictability does not owe you perfection. It will twist, turn, and change course without warning. People will leave, plans will break, time will move whether you're ready or not, and when you finally stop resisting the nature of life, when you no longer demand it, bend to your expectations, you begin to move with it, not against it. This internal shift lightens the load. You no longer carry old regrets like anchors. You stop replaying past mistakes, understanding that no amount of guilt will rewrite them. You stop obsessing over what others think of you because you finally know who you are. You stop arguing with reality, and instead you begin to respond to it with wisdom. You find peace not because life has become easy, but because you have become grounded. And from that groundedness, your vision clears. You no longer panic when things fall apart. You adapt. You no longer cling to people who do not value you. You release. You no longer fear aging because you understand its beauty, its calm, its depth, its spiritual sharpness. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up on growth. It means understanding that growth looks different at every stage of life. Sometimes it is bold and loud, and sometimes it is quiet, still, and deeply rooted. Picture an elderly woman who once lived in the spotlight, a singer adored by thousands. As the years passed, the fame faded, her voice grew softer, the world no longer called her name the way it once did. But instead of mourning the change, she found something richer. She began teaching others, hosting small gatherings, singing softly for a handful of students under candlelight. When someone asked if she missed the fame, she smiled and said, "No, that was a beautiful chapter, but this one is quieter and even more meaningful." That is the voice of someone who has made peace with life's seasons. Acceptance is not weakness, it is strength wrapped in understanding. It is the wisdom to know what is yours to change and what is yours to release. It is a sign of evolution, a soul no longer at war with itself. And when you reach this state, you stop running, you stop proving, you just are. And in that stillness, in that acceptance, you find the most powerful reward of all, peace. Not the kind the world gives, but the kind that time alone can teach. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not grow weaker with age. We grow sharper, stronger, more dangerous. The greatest reward of old age is not comfort, it is command. Command over your mind, your time, your emotions, your legacy. While the world chases the fire of youth, you hold the flame of man. So embrace the years. Welcome the lines on your face. Let time polish you, not break you. Because in the final chapters of life, the truly powerful are not those who run the fastest, but those who see the farthest. And you are only just beginning.